Rock, boy, in the 70s and 80s, these things were juggernauts, but now, not so much. But they are still around and they're still doing okay in some markets. So let's take a look at that format, active rock. That's this week's format that we're going to be going through. Hey Buckaroos, welcome back to Music.com Academy. As you can see right over here, this is the format that we are doing this week, and we're going to go through this format by the numbers and talk about the numbers and compare the numbers, and then of course add this format in to all of the other formats that we've done so far and see how they compare one to another. So let's move to the computer and we'll start doing that now. This week the format is active rock. That's what we're going to go through. There's not a lot of active rock stations that are successful in the major markets that you can, count on to kind of see what they do and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of active rock stations, but again, most of them are not in the majors. And only a few of them really are in the top 10. This particular one is the super strong one here. So let's start going through these, and as always we'll start with the overall plays. Overall plays are kind of sort of similar. The average is 1609. This one's roughly 100 above it. These are kind of maybe 100 below it. Unique titles, here's a monster difference. Gigantic, 400, roughly 500, 1500. Then this is the strong one. Okay, this is the gigantic radio station with big numbers. And when you put them all together, the average is 800. Still, this is almost double that, and this is way below it. So, just dwell on that for a second if you're running an active rock radio station. You're also going to see the difference as we move forward. Now, let's move over to current titles. 32 titles, 179 plays, 41 titles, 337 plays. And that's in 1 week, 7 days. Now let's just take a look at this for just a second. Let's assume that these 32 songs, which they probably aren't, but let's assume that they're all treated equally and they're all rotating in one category, exactly the same. 32 in 7 days into 179 plays. I mean, what is that? You're getting roughly 6 plays kind of in a week, so less than once a day. This one is probably going to be a bit faster, obviously, because there's 337. What's 4 into 33? 4 eighths are 32. So this is coming up a little bit more than once a day. So they're turning really slowly, but they are at least introducing current songs to this audience. Recurrence, we're again in the same dilemma. At least these are sort of, kind of similar, 32 to 41. Not a big spread there, average 36. When you get into recurrence, this station, there's only 6 of them. This one's got 30 and then 32. So 5 times more recurrence. Moving over to the gold titles, again, just like the unique titles, this is what sticks out, gigantic. 361, 416, pretty close, 1441. I mean, you can make an argument for this radio station that calls itself an active rock radio station that really, in a way, it's a classic rock radio station. But again, what we don't know is, for this 1441, how far back do they go? And knowing, and we'll talk about this when we get to the next page, okay, when we go through all of the averages. But the classic rock radio stations that we did last week, their average year was definitely below 1988. So this would tell me from seeing this, and the amount of current songs that they play, they're only playing, what do they got? 30 recurrents, 35 currents. It's only 65 songs out of 1,500 songs. That's like nothing. This is not going to be enough to skew this up that many years. Their gold has to be more recent, maybe not a lot of years, but it has to be more recent than a classic rock radio station, the typical classic rock radio station. And we'll see that on the next page. Let's, again, like before, we will grab the averages of this particular format, active rock, and we'll stick it into the running averages of all formats. Getting so this page is pretty much almost filled, and this is a wealth of information here if you really want to get in deep into how to program a radio station and make things different from one to another. Now, as I mentioned, that the really strong active rock radio station that we were looking at before, their average year was 1988. And the average year of all of them is 1995. As I was pointing out, for classic rock itself, the average year is 1981. So that radio station is 7 years younger, closer to today than a typical classic rock radio station, or even a classic hits radio station. They're closer to this adult hits thing. Although, you know, again, not many of these stations around either. So let's just go through these and just take a look and see what's what. Maybe something will stick out, maybe it won't. Active rock, ooh, play less than almost everything other than AAA, which tends to be a kind of a current format. I'm not quite sure what to make of that, but you know, AAA is definitely playing more current type music, and they only play 1,200 songs. But again, you don't know if they have a lot of talk or other things, or they break for 2-hour talk shows, or who knows. Anyway, 1,600 songs. So we're on the low end here. Urban AC is the next, no, classic rock is the next lowest, but even that's still 100 above. Unique titles, 798, almost 800. You're running here 1 second in line. Current titles, yeah, they have some. They play 36 currents, 23 recurrents, obviously different than these adult hit, classic hit, and classic rock radio stations. And they're somewhere in the middle of the other formats. 739 gold titles, that's ooh, top of the heap. Huh, 739, that's more gold, different titles, than any other format so far. And again, the average year is 1995, which you know, says something, you know, in itself. Again, bear in mind that that really strong one was 1988. I love seeing those comparisons of formats. They just open your eyes to so many different things that, you know, I never thought of and you may not have thought of either. And you go like, wow, is that what's causing this? You know, is X causing Y? At least it gives you a path to go down to try to figure that out. So hopefully you got something out of this lesson. If you did, subscribe. We're somewhere over 700 subscribers, and I guess the next goal is going to be 1,000. That's a big tier for YouTube. So if you would hit that subscribe button, I would love for you to do that. What's the downside of doing it? And until the next lesson, see ya!